Good morning, everyone. Those of you here and online, and I want to welcome all of our friends from Ananda Village. Wonderful to see you, really wonderful to have you here, and a few new people. As most of you know, I've just returned from a pilgrimage in India. It's a pilgrimage I went on by myself. It wasn't arranged, I just sort of arranged it, which when I think about it was about as brazen, if not stupid, as anything I've ever done. But fortunately, God himself helped me out, and it all worked. I was gone less than 3 weeks, about 19 days, and yet I have this feeling that I left, and I feel like I was gone a very long time to a faraway place. And then I keep saying to myself, it was 19 days, but it was lifetimes. It was a very, really deeply powerful trip. And as you can see, I'm not, my body suffered on this trip, let me put it that way. And each day I'm getting remarkably and obviously better. So I had the courage to come out without a cane today. But it was a physically challenging trip for me. And people are just seeing me walk around, holding on to other people, climbing upstairs in unusual ways. So I've received several emails already from people saying to me, I feel so badly for you. I'm so sorry. I've been praying for you and your body. The prayers are good, but I want to say to everybody, please don't feel sorry for me. Please do not see this as anything that's happening on the physical plane. I feel like I went to India and had an experience of being touched by the divine. There's nothing about the trip that I would change, not one moment of bodily pain. It was really interesting, the last part of the trip, I was in Varanasi. For those of you who haven't been there, it's a city it's ancient, and it's along the Ganges, and there are temples and shrines, and to get down to the river at any point, one walks on a lot of stone steps. And of course, you're going to go down to the river. And the one thing that I couldn't do on my own was steps. So I was sort of carried down to the Ganges, carried back up to the Ganges. But here's what I found. I was in a lot of pain at the top of the steps every day and getting there. And I would get into the water, and I was completely out of pain. I was floating in God's presence and in God's love. The water, which is holy water, was holding me, and the pain was gone. And I kept looking, and I kept thinking, there's all the rock and the world and everything fixed, and it hurts. And I realized it was not just a physical pain. And here is God himself manifesting in this river, holding me, carrying me. And there is no pain here. And it was such a beautiful experience of in the body, out of the body, in the mind, out of the mind. And it was so complete that one simply could not deny not just God's presence, you couldn't deny God's presence, but that experience that we're all looking for, the exact reason why Jesus gave the Sermon on the Mount. His entire purpose, as he was thinking about what is he going to say to these people, all of what preceded that, getting all of the people, enough people, a critical mass of energy ready that he could get up and give what he called a manifesto. what he said about it, I'm here to start a revolution, not a revolt, but a revolution. I'm here to present a manifesto, in essence, that which will change the thinking of everyone, the experience going forward. And he waited for precisely the right moment and then told everyone. He basically wrote a map for us, a very clear map. And the map says, if you want to know me, not him, but his consciousness, if you want to live like this, all of these beautiful stories in the sermon that are not in the Beatitudes, he started with the Beatitudes as an invitation. He started with the Beatitudes as a way of showing everyone who is about to listen to the hard stuff, if you do this, each Beatitude, this is what will happen for you. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will know God. You want to know God? Purify your heart. Blessed are the merciful, because they will find mercy. And it just goes on. Every one of them, he started by saying, you can find me. You can. But this is going to take a lot of courage. This is going to take extraordinary commitment. And he even said to his disciples, as they were saying, there's a lot of hard stuff here. Are you sure you want to say this? If somebody gouges out your eye, not take the other eye. What did he say? I can't remember right now. It doesn't matter. There's a list as you go through the whole sermon that's very hard for people. If somebody slaps you, turn the other cheek. If somebody's your enemy, love them. This is all counterintuitive for human beings. And this is 2,300 years ago in the midst of Kali Yuga. So he was about to say to everybody, you have to turn 180 degrees. You have to change your mind about everything. We have to revolutionize how people hold what life is about, what spiritual freedom means. How do we get there? And I was in that water. Here's a very interesting thing. I was with 3 friends, and one night in this ancient town that was, I want to say, without a doubt, the most profound experience of my life so far. But I do remember that I might have said that about Badrinath last year. So probably we can have these experiences in more than one places. But it was really extraordinary being in that city. There's nothing about it that we can relate to. Not what it looks like, not what it smells like, not all those people, not all the different languages, not what it means to walk into a river where people are doing their laundry and washing their hair and bringing their plates and dishes, and God himself only knows what else, and so willingly walk into the river knowing you're going to be blessed. You can't think about that. A Western mind cannot think about it. But when it happens, you are out of your mind and in this extraordinary blessing. Well, one night, the 4 of us go back to our little guest house, and we were eating dinner. It was late, 9, 10 o'clock, but none of us were tired. We were so energized. So one of my friends said, have you ever watched The Chosen? She asked us. And I don't know how many people here have watched any episodes of The Chosen. And I know not everybody feels this way, but many, many people love it, including me. I feel so close to Jesus when I watch that, and all of the disciples. To me, they have beautifully depicted this cosmic consciousness needing to take form in the body. So the body and the humanness is there, but over and over and over, he rises, he remembers who he is. He doesn't really remember, but of course he's drawn there and he lives in that reality. But he's dealing with all of these people and all of these things, and you meet Jesus the man and you meet Jesus the Christ, and you watch the disciples, and it's the story was we all wanted to watch an episode of The Chosen. Everybody who was there loved it. And somebody said, this is a week and a half ago now, I was not in Palo Alto at the time, in no way. I had no idea what the sermon was going to be. I had experiences of not being able to remember my friends' names here because I was in such a different state. Somebody said, let's watch the episode with the Sermon on the Mount. It's so beautiful. And I hadn't seen it yet. I hadn't gotten there. I watch a few, then I don't watch it for so long that I start over. So I really haven't gotten beyond the first season. But we watched the 2 episodes that had to do with this Sermon on the Mount and how they depict how Matthew helped him decide that he needed a different beginning. He couldn't just start with all of these challenges for everybody. He just couldn't start by telling them all of what they had to do. Matthew, who is very intellectual, more in his mind, was saying to Jesus, who was saying to him, tell me the truth. Matthew reminded me so much of Swamiji, where Swamiji, when he was writing The New Path, he would call a small group of people in, and he would read to them, and then he would ask for feedback. And you can imagine, people were quiet, and he finally had to say, I didn't ask you here to be quiet. I didn't ask you here just to agree. I asked you here to tell me, how does this sound? He obviously looking to see if he was communicating this kind of consciousness to people who were just beginning to open in many ways, or who could reflect back to him what the book would sound like to the masses. And Jesus did that, and he did it with Matthew. And Matthew said, no, you can't do it. And Jesus listened to him and went off for some time and comes back with these beautiful teachings. And you watch him walk out and see, because nobody knew if 5 people would come or 5,000. They had no idea. This was so revolutionary. That's what he was trying to do. This was so totally new at the time. But he had been going town by town, just little miracle here, a little miracle there, kindness, always such kindness to each soul. Of course, he always knew what they needed. He, you know, when you watch that perfect state of consciousness and you watch it and hear it with your heart, not with your mind or with any part of your humanness, it's so easy to walk into it and realize what we can do, what it feels like to be there, what it feels like to just see God in everyone, everywhere, and to respond to each human being in a way that God would, because you are God and you're speaking to God and you feel the difference between what happens in the human condition when you have to climb those darn rocks and it hurts and there's so much pain. And then you slip into the heart, the water, the fluidity, the expansiveness of God's presence, which is the invitation here. And when you watch that scene on The Chosen, part of what you see is what's happening to everybody who came to listen. Now, of course, I'm sure the man who wrote it is taking poetic license. I don't know how accurate. I believe a lot of it's accurate because it's depicting what I've read, even from Yogananda and from Swamiji, but he created it the way he wants to. But they allow you to see the transformation as it's happening for each soul. They depict it in a way that you feel the humanness, the doubt, the fear, the pain that people have walked with, everybody who's there, but certainly each disciple has come with everything that's human, all of their ego-ness. And you can see how Jesus was speaking so directly to each one of them, just like he speaks directly to each of us. If we each stood up right now, we could say, well, when I listen to the Beatitudes or when I read the whole sermon, as I said, which is so much more, we all know that. I forget how many segments he left in the end, but it's big and it's deep. And we could say, there's my lesson, there's my lesson. But you watch when people allow themselves to be close to the power of God, which we can all do, every one of us. As Swamiji's words here, I just want to find his words. He says, it takes unflinching surrender and heroic determination. This is what Swamiji said when he's talking about living according to the Beatitudes, which again is exactly the roadmap. When somebody said to Jesus, what is this map? He said, this is a precise map that can say to anybody, if you want to find me, just follow this map and you will find me. Meaning, you will find your true self, not Jesus the man. You will find that love. And as Jesus is giving this sermon, you watch people leaving, as I was saying, the fear, the pain. I mean, Matthew himself was thrown out of his home by his father, who told him, you are dead to us. They actually did what's called sitting Shiva, what you do in a Jewish family when somebody dies. You cover the mirrors, you dress in black, you sit for 7 days, and you mourn the loss of this soul from your life. They sat Shiva for him. He was in so much pain. And then you see, little by little, over the period of this talk, people realizing their true selves, hearing the map, realizing how much hope there is for each of us if we could live by what is spoken in this sermon. If we could live according to these Beatitudes. And what else are we doing here but trying to do this? What else would we? Sorry, Swamiji gave such simple words for these Beatitudes, but I didn't memorize them, so I'm going to share them with you. For each one, not a lesson in them that we should. We did do a multimedia kind of class on the Beatitudes once with music and dance. I think many of us were involved. We should do it again. Jesus said, this is the map. And when I read these now, and when I read this sermon, I can almost find in my mind, the exact place in the Gita that says the same thing in its own language for its own time. You find these universal truths. And if you just sink into it, you rejoice with it. I didn't read the affirmation for today. I didn't know what it was, but it was such a perfect affirmation. I had to giggle because it was a lot about pain and transcending pain. And here I was, as I said, in pain, in pain, but not just out of pain, out of this body, out of this mind. Because that, where truth is, in this sermon, sitting in the Ganges, in that place, with thousands of people who know body, mind, and soul, that it is a sacred place, no doubt, no question. They come. They don't come like we come. They don't sit and meditate and try and go deep. They come and they splash each other and they laugh. They're yelling at their kids. I mean, it's just, but they know they need to be there. That's where they come. They choose to come there. That is so helping to raise our consciousness, being around thousands and thousands of people who maybe aren't practicing it in the way we are, but who want to be right in the Ganges, who want to go and get a 1-second glimpse of a particular deity. That's what they're devoted to. And then we go in and we're surrounded by it. And everybody forgets their humanness. Everybody. And when you listen to this Sermon on the Mount, and you can actually listen to different people doing it, you can watch it in The Chosen. It's the 8th session on season 2 and the first session on season 3. And it's captivating. It's just captivating. Watching transformation, feeling transformation, saying to yourself, that's what I want. That's what I can do, every one of us. I must have watched that 5 times yesterday. And I read the Sermon on the Mount, the whole thing, at least 3 or 4 times. It just changes you. I just said to myself, do this every day, because another thing I'll tell you, 23 hours of flight, you get off the plane, you come home, your family's there, your dog is there, your friends are there. Boy, it's a slippery slope back into it is very slippery. Oh, Shanti, I'm so sorry you're in pain. No, please don't. I'm not in pain. You're in pain. No, I don't want it. You know, I'm telling you, because it's the truth, but it grabs you. We all see the world. It's not just you guys telling me I'm in pain. It's me. It's everything, my reactions that are so well honed. How do we get out of that? I'm going to watch this sermon, session 8 and session 1, as much as I can. I love seeing that moment where we break free. We break free, and you see it, and you feel it. I have just a few minutes. I'll share these with you just because Swamiji, it's so really beyond words who he is. And the extraordinary gift over and over, no matter what I go to talk about, no matter what song is sung. And thank you so much for that beautiful whispers. I mean, I was crying. It's just so perfect. You can't remember the words now, but I think it was number 69. So I'm going to tell everybody, it's perfect. Master's saying exactly what Jesus was saying. We just keep hearing the truth. They're so good to us, telling us they're so patient and loving. They're asking us to be the same way. And Swamiji, who writes, it's not obvious what these Beatitudes mean. And he points out in another writing about it that the language doesn't even mean the same thing these days. So when you read the Beatitudes, you would think, what does that mean for us? But then he takes them and he interprets them. So the first Beatitude, blessed are the pure in spirit. And Swamiji just says, renounce your ego. This is what Christ is doing. He says, he urges his followers, including those today who would follow him to the heights of perfection. Blessed are the pure in spirit means renouncing ego. And I would recommend, because it's so much easier than living in the Maya and trying to do it, get on a plane, fly to Varanasi, and get in the river. Everything you think you know and you're holding on to, it's gone. It's easier. It's hard, of course, coming back and holding on to it. Blessed are those who mourn. What are we mourning for? Swamiji says, yearn for the Lord from the very depths of your being. It's okay. Cry out to God when you pray. Let it be that way at your altar every morning. This is what Jesus is saying to us. If you mourn for God, if you just feel that depth of loneliness, that hole in our heart that can only be filled by Him, He loves that. That consciousness then magnetically is drawn to us. That hole gets filled. These are not empty words. Swamiji interpreting Jesus, it's beautiful. Blessed are the meek. And Swamiji says, attune yourselves sensitively to divine truth. Never attempt vaingloriously to reshape the world to your own image. Don't change me, Sister Gyanamata said. Don't change my circumstance. Whew, that was really backwards. Seriously, dangerously backwards. It's the devil, I'm telling you. Don't change my circumstance, change me. What a beautiful line for us to remember. That's what Swamiji's saying when he says, blessed are the meek. That's who Sister Gyanamata was. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, live always by the highest principles, follow the pathway to truth, and he says, spurn the fascinations of delusion. And that is very hard. Right now, just because it's just a week, and because I've been in so much pain, I've been staying home a lot, a little easier. I see when everything starts grabbing me to pull me out. Right now, I can see it, and I'm saying, how am I going to still be seeing it next week? Please, I have been begging God to help me. That's what we need to do. Pray hard for help. In the prayer itself, we're drawn to truth, not to this world of Maya. Blessed are the merciful. Expand your heart. That's what mercy means. Compassion. They will find mercy. Open your heart and you will feel. That's what I felt when I was in that river in that night that we were watching the sermon. I felt such compassion for everybody. It just burst my heart open. And this is not about me. I'm sharing it with all of you because it's for all of us. This is the journey that we're on, every single one of us. We're in different places. Every one of us is in a different place, but it doesn't matter. We're on the journey, and we all want the same thing. We wouldn't be here if we weren't. So if you watch it, maybe it's your time to have your heart burst with joy as well. Maybe that could happen. Blessed are the pure in heart. Swamiji just says, purify your heart, open to God's will. Blessed are the peacemakers, remain inwardly unaffected by the storms of life. What does Master say? I can't say it. Swamiji says, seek always with inner calmness to bring divine peace on earth. Stand calm amidst. Say it, one person say it to me. Thank you. Stand unshaken amidst the crash of breaking worlds. That's blessed are the peacemakers. That's the lesson. That's the lesson Jesus was saying. That's the lesson Master said. That's how Swamiji is telling it to us. These are all our teachers. These are the greatest souls. And they're just bringing it right down to this simple language that we can all understand. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake. And this I believe he wrote for Matthew, because Matthew suffered so much with this rejection. There are many things about Matthew we won't talk about. But Swamiji says, in the face of death itself, finally, stand courageously by your eternal commitment to God alone. These are so beautiful. We've been given over and over the yamas, the niyamas, the beatitudes. Everybody telling us the same thing. Open your heart and I will enter and take charge of your life. And if we think, because I've watched it even now, I am having a profound experience in my heart. It is very easy to, within minutes, turn it into a discussion about it. And it's no longer an experience in the heart. It's an interesting thing. This is where deeper, longer, thirsty, guru-given meditations come in, and to really cherish these moments and hold on to them and share them with people who you know can believe them and share them with you where they are, who want to know the truth. Otherwise, stay close to God here, because again, very slippery out here. Maya is so strong and in every place. Just the devil himself, that little devil, that's what it is. So find the inspiration, do what you need to do. I know there are people in this room who would hate going to Varanasi. Find your place. Pilgrimage is very important. You know, right after Jesus gave this sermon, he went into seclusion. That's what he did. He didn't even want to talk for a few minutes. He went into seclusion. And pilgrimage and seclusion, you know, Yogananda said seclusion is the price of greatness. Those were his words. He meant it. He meant we need to do some seclusion. It's the price of greatness, not greatness here in this world. Soul greatness, the language of the soul. And I am going to be courageous and say the same thing about pilgrimage. Somebody said to me just the other day about our pilgrimage to Los Angeles, you don't have to go to Varanasi. I recommend it, but you know, it's a trip. It's shocking going to Varanasi. But somebody said to me, that just changed my life. It just opened me. It set me up for transformation. And it was a 1-hour plane ride, and we spent 4 beautiful days together. Pilgrimage matters. Pilgrimage takes us out of the influences of our daily life, out of all of the habits and the patterns that we've created based on our karma. And it gives us an opportunity to go, oh my God, that's what I want. That's where and how I want to live, always. So wherever you have to go, whatever you have to do, meditation, pilgrimage, seclusion, they all help us get to this place that Swamiji says takes great courage. But as he also said, and Master said, have we ever heard any of them who arrived there say it wasn't worth it? No, it's not what they say. So let's join forces. We're a spiritual family here. Everything any one of us do affects everybody. So let's all just be making the greatest effort we can to live by these great truths.
Expression of that beatitude, blessed are they that mourn. And let's listen to this melody and these lyrics as an expression of our soul's mourning at our separation from God. I have a love who's far away, far away, far away. I have a love who's far away, farther away than the stars. And yet she's stolen my heart away, heart away, heart away. and yet she's stolen my heart away, farther away than the stars. Keep me not bound here, teach me to fly far from earth's madness, free ere I die. Keep me not bound, no, teach me to fly farther away than the stars. There's nothing here nearly so dear, nearly so dear, nearly so dear. There's nothing here nearly so dear as her laughter away.
Dare to be different, dare to be free, dare to roam far like wind on the sea, fly like a gull, soar high on the air, be strong in your courage when others despair. Never in anger, never in haste, go without pride, be never abased. Freedom is yours, if freedom you'll give, to all give it freely, in freedom you'll live. Mountains that stand up tall to the sky, tell us no gleaming is ever too high. Dare to climb boldly, brave that high peak, you'll never know freedom if bravely you seek. Dare to be different, dare to be free, dare to roam far like wind on the sea, fly like a gull, soar high in your air, be strong in your courage when others despair. Be strong in your courage when others despair.